The NBA is finally back in action. As teams gear for opening night, there has been some rumblings down in the city of Houston, most notably surrounding James Harden. His recent antics include going to a strip club in the midst of a pandemic, which caused him to miss the first few days of training camp, are all a part of his elaborate scheme to get traded from the city. And one of his preferred trade destinations is no other than my favorite team, the Miami Heat. On Twitter, I have never seen a fan base so divided over this situation, which comes back to my message that I personally want to relay to the NBA world. Keep Harden the hell away from Miami. Yes, I know your first thoughts may surprise you.
Man, there you go with that bullshit.
Yes, I get it. But let me break it down for y'all really quick. Number one, the fit. Many Miami fans on Twitter, including myself, all stated that Harden would not fit with the team because of his attitude and his style of play. In this case, they're kind of right. Many times in Houston, there were reports of James Harden lashing out to the front office in order to get what he wants. Hence, back in 2018, while him and Chris Paul didn't work out, he went up to the front office and gave them an ultimatum. He's either him or me. Also, going back to this past year, he cussed out Austin Rivers because of his own missed free throw. If you want to argue in basketball terms, Coach Spoelstra runs a particular half-court set, which requires most of our guards to move off the ball in order to get open and create for themselves or pull up and shoot. A lot of times the pick and roll is incorporated. The problem with James is that he doesn't seem to want to move off the ball. And going back to his days with CP3, one big issue as to why they didn't get along was because of James's refusal to move off the ball. If you go back to this past year, his usage rate was 36%. If you go back the year before that, his usage rate was 40%. In fact, if you pull up the NBA's all-time usage rate, James Harden appears in the top 10 multiple times. So it's evident that he wants the ball mostly in his hand. People are so quick to argue that in basketball terms, this move makes sense. But they're also quick to forget how much team cohesion and chemistry matters in the game of basketball. Ask any coach, any general manager, or even a former player. Ask them how much team chemistry matters. When Kawhi and PG went to the Clippers, folks said in basketball terms that should warrant them a championship. Well, guess what? They lost. If you want to go back to 2013, back when the Lakers had that super team of Kobe, Nash, and Dwight, they unfortunately still lost too. If you want to go back even further, back to 1999 when Charles Barkley and Scottie Pippen joined the Houston Rockets to join up with Hakeem and Clyde, that brought the city much optimism. It brought them such optimism that they thought they were going back to the promised land. Only for Scottie Pippen to call Chuck a lazy slob a couple months later.
I wouldn't get Charles Barkley an apology at gunpoint, so he could never expect an apology from me. If anything, he owed me an apology for coming and play with his sorry fat butt.
Number two, trading long-term potential for a short-term gain. I've always been the type of man to advocate for the youth, and I feel like teams should stick and build with their young core. In Miami Heat's case, Tyler Hero is 20, Duncan Robinson is 24, and Bam Adebayo is 22. They have just recently came off their first playoff run, heck, better yet their first finals, and they all produced. I feel like the sky was the limit for those guys, especially Tyler Hero. At 20 years old, he made his first playoff appearance seem seamless, making spectacular plays, and showed that he is not afraid for the big moments. Trading a good chunk of their young core would not be ideal, especially Tyler Hero. Who's to say he won't make a jump next year and average about 20-22 points a game while averaging 5 assists at the same time? While ascending to a bigger role, I feel like that could possibly happen. Why would you trade at least a potential of 12 good years of Tyler Hero, all just to catch Harden's last 3 years of his prime? The idea sounds enticing, but don't fall into that trap of gaining a short-term solution when you can have a long-term assurance by staying young. Let's say we do keep Tyler Hero and the rest of the young guys. We can make an NBA Finals for a longer stretch of the time. While if we get James Harden, yes, our chances to go back to the Finals are immediately high. But let's say James Harden and Jimmy Butler get older after that, because they're both 30. We would have given so much to Houston to that point to where if those two stars get older, what will be next for us? We were so close last year, so why not get the young guys back together and let them go all out with Jimmy Butler again? In my humble opinion, this is the better route. So please, for the love of God, please keep Harden out of Miami.